Hello, everybody. Mac here, and we are working on systems of equations word problems. Okay, and I know how much we all love word problems. These are actually kind of fun. They're little puzzles to try to figure out. Just don't freak out, and we're going to read them nice and slowly and go through this step by step. And hopefully, working this with me will really help you to understand these. Now, again, I have a version A and a version B. Hopefully, you've looked at those already. You should look at those before looking at this one. And those can all be found, if you haven't found it yet, at maxtutorials.com. MACS, and I have lots and lots of math videos to help you out, really on any subject having to do with algebra. Okay, and again, anytime you like, subscribe, and even comment, let me know if this helped you. I really appreciate that. Okay, let's get going on this. Okay, so I have to come up with two equations from number one. A theater sold 100 tickets, 110 tickets. Children cost 7, adults cost 11. Total sales were 990. How many of each? Well, the first thing I know is I know how many tickets they sold. They sold 110. I just don't know the combination between child and adults. So I'm going to take my child and I'm going to add my adults, and all together it was 110 tickets. Okay, so I don't even care how much they cost. I just know the tickets. Child plus adult, I sold 110. All right, now let's put a value. Child tickets cost 7, so I'm going to times each child by $7. The adult tickets cost 11. I'm going to multiply each adult ticket by 11. And my total sales, when I add it all up, become $990. And that's how I want you to read and set these up. Okay, now this is a solve by elimination type of a problem. Whoop, hitting lots of wrong buttons there. So what I want to do is I want to times this by the smallest number possible, and that would be a -7 because that would match up my C's to eliminate. So I have to multiply all three, and I'm going to get a -7C, -7C minus 7A equals -770. And then underneath, I'm going to write 7C plus 11A equals 990. And now we're just going to solve like we did in all those videos I did earlier at maxtutorials.com. 4A equals, oh, what's 990 minus 770? That feels a lot like a 220, okay? And now once I divide by 4, watch how I do the 4 here. A equals, okay, how many times does 4 go into 22? 5, with how many left over? 2. I'm going to write it there. How many times will 4 go into 20? 5 times. It's 55 adult tickets, okay? So I'm going to take those 55 adult tickets and I'm now going to plug it in right there, okay? And so total, I'm going to have my child tickets plus my, it's an ugly C, child tickets plus my 55 adult tickets is going to equal 110. Once I subtract my 55, boom, die, C equals, what is 110 minus 55? Well, that should just be another 55. We have an even number of amounts. We have 55 child and we have 55 adults. Okay? All right, number two. A farm has ducks and cows totaling 28 animals, and there are 88 legs altogether. How many ducks, how many cows are there? Well, let's just go D plus C. That's my ducks and cows. How many animals? There's 28 of them. Okay, now I got to multiply each by the number of legs they have. Well, how many legs does a duck have? A duck has 2 legs. Quack, quack. Okay, and then I have the cows. How many legs does a cow have? A cow has 4 legs. And altogether, they have how many legs? They have 88 legs. That's what they gave us in the problem. Now it's just a solve by elimination. So I'm going to multiply everything by -2. That'll line up my D's the way I want them to be. And so I'm going to have a -2D minus 2C equals, what's 2 times 28? That would be 56. And I've got to make it negative. Now I'm going to have 2D plus 4C equals 88. Boom, die. I'm left with 2C equals, what is 88 minus 56? That looks to me to be awful like a 32. And then once I divide everybody by 2, my C will equal 16. There are 16 cows. Well, if there's 16 cows, just go back here to the original equation, okay, and go, okay, well, 16 cows. I have my ducks plus my 16 cows. That's going to equal 28. And then once I subtract my 16 from both, boom, die, my ducks will equal 12. 12 ducks, 16 cows. That's fun, okay? Number 3, two numbers add the 58. All right, cool. I'll just go x plus y equals 58. one number is 10 more than the other. All right, so one of them is x. If that's x, what would y be? Well, y would be whatever x is plus another 10. Do you see right now what I got? I have my second equation, but it's set up as a substitution problem, which is fine. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write this as x plus. Now instead of y, what is y? Y is x plus 10. And that's all going to equal 58. When I add them all together, I get a 2x plus 10 equals 58. I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides. I'm going to get a 2x equals 48. I'm going to divide by 2, and I'm running out of space, and my x is going to equal 24. Boom. Now, if I look back at the original, which is over here, I'm just going to plug 24 in for x. 24 plus y equals 58. I know what you're saying. Well, why not just add 10? Well, watch what happens. Y equals 34. And what do you notice between x and y? Y is 10 bigger. So that was just a way for us. I knew we could do that one in our head, so that would be a way for us to just double check at the end, okay? All right, number 4 out of 6. We're halfway through. Way to hang in there, guys. Football games sold 180 tickets. Student tickets were 9. Adult tickets were 14. Total sales were 2160. How many were each? All right, well, this happens a lot. Okay, so again, instead of students, I'm going to say child because my S's tend to look like 5s. All right, so a football game sold 120. We have our child and we have our adults, and all together we sold 180 tickets. Okay. The student tickets, the child tickets, were $9 each. The adult tickets were $14, and all together is $21.60. All right. So now, what do I want to do? I want to multiply the top by something, and I'm going to multiply it by a negative 9, which will give me a negative 9c minus 9a equals whatever 9 times 180 is. What is 9 times 180, you ask? And I say that's a really good question. It is 1,620, a negative 1,620. And then if I copy this one down, I get a 9c plus a 14a equals 2160. Boom, boom, die. And I'm left with a 5a equals. Okay, now I can write the other one on top, but I'm just going to really quickly use my calculator and take my 2160 and find that my answer is going to be 540. Once I divide each side by 5, don't forget that A, these are all adult tickets we're solving for. 5 goes in the 5 once. 5 goes in the 4 0 times with 4 left over. 5 goes in the 40 8 times. The answer is 108 adult tickets. Now, if I go back and let's see if I'll use my shading. If I'm going to go back to this problem right here, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to plug it in. And so once I do that, I'm going to write C plus A. What's A? A is 108. That's all going to equal 180. And once I subtract 108 from both sides, boom, die, my child or my student tickets are going to equal 72. There you go. All right, 2 more. Hang in there. A charity told 75 meal tickets. Student meals were 5, adult meals were 9. Total sales were 555. How many of each? Well, we had students and adults. Instead of students, I am going to say child because I don't like doing S's in my word problems. Okay, child and students are gone. Okay, charity deal 75 tickets. How many? Well, we had child, we had adults, and they added up to 75. Okay, and I know that child meals were 5 for every child. I know that adult meals were 9A, and when I add them together, it was $555. So I'm going to multiply this one by a negative 5 because I want to get rid of my C's. But remember, I got to multiply all 3. So I'm going to get a negative 5C minus 5A equals whatever 5 times 75 is. Do you know what that is? I do. It is 375. If you don't believe me, ask your calculator. Okay? Then I'm going to just copy the other one because I do like seeing these up and down. And I think it's good for you to take that extra step as well. Helps you not to make any, silly mistakes. So 4A equals whatever 555 minus 375 is, which is 180. And now I'm going to divide each side by 4. And my A, my adults, is going to equal, well, how many times will 4 go into 18? 4 times. With how many left over? 2. 4 go into 25 times, so there's 45 adult tickets. Now I'm just going to go back over here to this equation, and I just want to plug in my A. So I'm going to go my child plus my adult, which is 45, is going to equal 75. And once I minus 45 from each side, I get C equals 30. So the answer is, that's an ugly 0. The answer is 45 adult tickets and 30 child tickets. Last one. Parking lot contains trucks and motorcycles containing 40 vehicles. There's 124 wheels. How many trucks and motorcycles? Well, if I take my trucks and I add my motorcycles, I always use a capital T. I don't like T's in word problems either. They look like plus signs. So always write them as capitals so you don't mix them up. But when I add them, I have 40 vehicles total. But now I got to put a value of wheels on them, okay? So for each truck, I'm going to have 4, okay? And for each motorcycle, I'm going to have 2. And altogether, there are 124 wheels. Okay, boom, boom. And now I'm going to multiply this by a -4. And I'm going to get a -4t minus a 4m equals, not 40. That's going to be 160. Okay, a -160. And then I'm just going to copy the other one. Equals 124. Boom, they die. And so now I'm going to get a -2m equals a -36. Divide everybody by -2. Motorcycles equal 18. And then once I go back into this one right here, that equation, I'm going to plug in 18 for m. So t plus 18 equals 40. Subtract 18 from both sides. Boom, die. Trucks equal 22, and there is my final answer. You could do other things. I mean, these are kind of very similar between the three, but say somebody shoots, somebody scored, 42 points in a game. They took 25 shots. How many 2-pointers versus 3-pointers did they make? Something like that. So there's always ways to come up with a couple equations, and there are actually a lot of real life examples that happen while doing these. Okay, well, that's it. Hopefully through 3 pages, 18 of these, it really helped you to find out the concept of how to do these. I'm glad I could help you with the word problems. You guys should be pros. Good luck. Get that A in math. Bye-bye.